We are live, so bear with me, folks, as I get everything set up. That's probably me tagging you.
Could be.
All right, I think I got everything going now. So, good evening, everybody, and welcome to another live. This time I have Deborah Coldiron.
Hi, RJ.
How are you doing tonight?
I'm very good. How are you?
Not too bad, not too bad. Um, I will hand everything over to you and let you introduce yourself to all the fine folks.
Okay. My name is Deborah Coldiron. I am from Iowa. I have been involved with Books of Horror since the spring of 2021. And I have done all kinds of things with the group since then, a lot of graphics. And RJ has encouraged me, as I'm sure he has many other people, to write a little bit. And so I've done that. And I also do ceramics and I work at a school.
Awesome. Speaking of designs, I believe the first time we ever interacted with one another was I had to figure out which way. This
Yep.
little guy. Oh my gosh, this little guy right to my left. It's
Yep. I
Ruby.
know you had a similar logo and you had put out there, can anybody like rebuild this?
Yes.
And I was like, well, I could do that. And that was the beginning.
Oh, I don't know. You stuck your foot in your mouth because we come to find out you are a retired professional graphic designer.
Yes, yeah. I still do it a little bit, but I don't do it professionally or full time anymore. But yeah, I've done it for a long, long time, many, many years.
And
Hi,
you,
Edmund.
yep, Emma Stone. You've designed some people's logos, their personal logos for their brands as well. Edmund, um, I want to say Tommy. I
Yep,
believe you did
yep.
Tommy's. Anybody else you want to shout out that you can remember? Those are the ones that jump out at me immediately. You did From the Ashes logo.
Right. I've also done some covers. I've For Edmund, I did a lot of covers. So I did all of the Christmas related books that he has,
Yep.
the Shadows books. I did all of those covers. And I did the alternate cover for Sammy Scott's At Home with the Horrors. That was in the special box that Tiffany did for
Yep.
Sammy. So that was really, I was really honored to do that one.
So you are a jack of all trades when it comes to art and even creating things,
Yep, I've always enjoyed making things. So yeah.
which is fun to see Taylor Gibbs in here because she had our first question, and you kind of touched on that just now with what you have done. So she asked, any tips for aspiring book illustrators would be greatly appreciated.
Well, I wouldn't really consider myself an illustrator. I have illustrated things, but I consider myself more of a graphic designer. And that's kind of more of a Frankenstein type of a situation where you put together different graphics that you source from, stock photo companies and things like that. Sometimes they're completely drawn from scratch, but a lot of times I'm putting different things together to make something completely new. Um, but I guess my advice would be that you have to put in hours and hours and hours and hours in the different softwares. If you're a digital, you're going to be a digital artist. You just have to put in all those hours in really knowing your software and what it can do and how to get it to do what you want it to do. So
Right.
mostly what I work in these days is Adobe Illustrator, and so I've been working in that since the early 1990s.
Yeah.
And I worked in Photoshop a lot back then as well, but I don't use that very much anymore. It's mostly vector art work that I do for logos and stuff like that. So that's kind of been what my style looks like now is more of that kind of I wouldn't say cartoon style, but it's like flat finishes as opposed to photographic
More
finish.
rounded, you could
Yeah.
say, instead of like hard edges.
Yep, and I prefer that if I can use it because you can blow those, images up to any size, and they will never, look blurry or pixelated or anything like that because they're, vector art instead of raster art, so I like that. If I were to do a lot more covers, I think I would get back into, doing some of those in Photoshop too and doing some, um, you know, work with changing up photos, um, stock photos and things like that to get new looks and things in Photoshop, but I just don't do that very much anymore. A lot of the
Mm.
work they do is logos.
Yeah. With the stock art and stuff, I think you have to be well versed in blending,
Mhm. Yep.
and that's like I tinker around with art all the time. And what going back to what you said, spending hours and hours with whatever tool set you're using, that's what you're doing. You're learning your tool set. That's what
Right.
you're putting the time into by doing that. So you know how to adjust this thing and this thing to get the better image that you're trying for.
Right.
So,
Yeah, you have to get the tools to do what you want them to do. So you have to be well practiced in order to do that, I would say. And then as far as getting yourself out there, I would say to just do as many free things for as many friends and family that you can that will get your images online to where people can see them. And eventually somebody is going to ask you to do something and you'll have your first job. So that's kind of my advice to get going is practice a lot and you know do a lot of freebies at
yeah.
first.
Well, um, that was Taylor Gibbs' question. And how I met her was she offered to redo a cover for me, and she did it free of charge. And I think she absolutely killed it. That is the cover, the new cover of Season of the Witch, which
Ah, okay.
also was Deborah Coldiron's first published story.
Very true.
So Taylor Gibbs hand drew digitally that cover.
Very cool.
So she when she asks a question like that, she's pretty talented because I've seen her do many other covers, and I think Taylor is awesome.
That's awesome, Taylor. I love that cover.
Yep. So this is like a weird roundabout of Taylor doing the cover of a book that you have a story in, and now she's asking your advice on how to do covers. But yeah, I was trying to see if we had any others. There was a few people that may have to catch us. I'm like fading in and out. I'm trying to get it right. This is weird for my background blending. Like you can see all the books back there when I do that I have behind me. Um, but yeah, getting yourself out there. I'm trying to think of some other avenues that you would do, especially if you wanted to get into the book cover world. Um, really joining not groups per se like books of horror, but the adjacent groups like Freeview or the book BOH Author Central, where
Yes,
people are actually out there looking for cover artists and things like that. That's a good stepping stone to finding work for people.
definitely.
But also, honestly, also if you are a up and coming artist and you have a favorite author, I would suggest reaching out to them with some of your portfolio that you have and say, hey, if you ever need a cover for one of your books and you think my style would be fitting for it, then I'm open to that possibility.
I think that's a great idea. Yep.
Yep.
Those side groups that are spin-offs from the main books for horror group is they are incredible. They're just an amazing resource for authors and other visual artists as well. It's amazing to be able to talk to so many other people that are in this kind of indie horror field about anything you want to ask a question about. There's, somebody that will have a good answer for you in one of those offshoots.
Yep. And we still have to steer new people that come to the group and are wanting to um, find out information that would be better suited for those. But yeah, like having those sister groups alongside of the actual books before, you can see like it's a whole different world. And like you're saying, like it's a great resource for very specific things as
Right.
opposed to reading and enjoying books, which is what books of horror is. So if you are an author or an artist or even like a narrator, BOH Author Central is the place to go if you need advice or if you need to find people to help you along with your process. And then if you are a author and you want to get more eyes on your work, then that's what Freeview was set up for. So yeah, um, it's called Freeview because it's basically free for review. An author gives you an arc of their book in exchange for a review. So
Hmm.
we have the book club,
Right.
and we have a swap group. The swap group wavers in and out. I don't think they really want new members because managing the ones they have can be troublesome at times, but they pretty much run themselves. And that was started way long ago. But there's a swap group where they do like seasonal swaps or maybe two swaps a year of like everybody puts their name in the pot and then gets paired up with somebody and they do like a little Secret Santa type thing.
Yeah, that sounds
Uh,
like a lot of fun.
we have also the buy sell trade group, which is we don't really allow book vending in books of horror aside from the indie authors putting up where you can find their books for sale. But if you have like old paperbacks or books that you read and you don't really feel like keeping around, then buy sell trade is the group that you want to be in for that. Yes,
Mhm.
it's crazy.
And then, is it Heather that runs the weekend store?
Heather does it's well that's in Books of Horror, but she schedules out the weekend bookstore posts like up to a month in advance, so they go up on Friday mornings every Friday morning, and then every other week we do the Wednesday giveaways, and that is we have two separate posts for that, which is US only because there's so many authors and people in the US, and then we do outside of the US, and mainly we have them separated too because if you're giving away like um, Kindle codes or audiobook codes, then for whatever reason Amazon splits up those marketplaces, and you basically, if you're in the US, you can only use the US code for your Amazon account, but if you're outside or outside the US and according to your marketplace, then that's a specific code as well. So we have that's every other week we do a Wednesday giveaway. Did you I don't know how people if they liked it, the new weekend bookstore image, like that's I made that
Oh,
maybe
I
a
haven't
couple
seen it
weeks
yet.
ago. It's kind of like a yard sale post. I was like this would be cool, funny, or cooler to do it this way. I don't know if it will show up on the phone at all. And where she schedules out these posts, it's weird because it you can't look it up in her history. But I thought it was I was just playing around one night and had the idea to do it. So
Sounds like an appropriate idea for one.
there if it'll show up on the camera, I had oh no. Oh, it's not even worth it. So yeah. It's like a wooden post, and it's got all the words written on it, almost like you'd see in a yard sale. And I put the unique online community that you also created that logo. And then very like I was just playing around. Like I told you one night, I get I stay up all night because of how I work. So like if anybody sees that weekend bookstore, there's actually a skull to the left of the Books of Horror logo, and I put it really like almost I was opacity
Oh, the opacity.
opacity. I put it really low down, so if you're not looking, you won't see it. So, but there's a skull there, just to see if anybody like comments on it. Okay with your designs? Do you ever hide things in your designs?
I have never tried that. No,
That's
I've never tried it. It's a good idea.
almost almost like I mean, it's almost like a signature. Like
Mhm.
some artists do that. Like so, I might be giving you terrible ideas. Like but yeah, like that's interesting. I wonder if any other of the artists out there that we know like to hide little certain things that only they know about, just for giggles.
Little Easter eggs.
Little Easter eggs.
Mhm.
But yes, so this might be a loaded question. But what has been I won't have you narrow it down, but what has been some of the favorite designs that you have done? Maybe, well, you said 2021, so in the last 4 or 5 years.
Hmm. The first one that comes to mind is the latest Brawl one. I really like that one. Is kind of like got a Victorian kind of William Morris kind of feel to it, but the ghosts are kind of cute and funny too.
Yeah.
I really like that one. I really enjoyed the doing the covers for Edmund. That was a lot of fun, and I like how they turned out. Let's see, man, I've done so many images for Tiffany, so many. I like how the Books and Brews too. main logo came out a lot.
Yep.
Um, so that's a lot of fun. Yeah, there's been a lot.
Every once in a while, I come at you with like, "Hey, Deb," and you're like,
Yep,
"What?" And
I still love how the cover for Coastal Horror came out.
Cooks of Horror. I was going to get to Cooks of Horror. So
Yeah, I like
you,
that image.
from cover to cover, you completely designed that book.
Yes.
How was that experience? And I
It,
do love that cover.
it was a lot of fun. I did not know what I was going to do when I told Tiffany, "Hey, I'll take that project on." Um, and it just once I got going on it, I was like, "Well, I can turn this into, a full length book if I have enough. If I have enough submissions." And I was thinking about what would make it more fun for people to own, and that's when I decided to ask for stories as well.
Yep.
So original stories that would go with the recipes. So that was amazing that people did write stories for the book for me. And then once I started getting those, and I saw some of the photographs that people were sending me of their food, I was like, I can make something really nice with this material. So I just got going on it, and I haven't designed a book cover to cover like this in a really long time before I did this, but I used to do that for a living in Minneapolis, Minnesota. When we lived there, I worked for a book packaging company.
Yeah.
Well, it was a graphic design department in a pre-press company, and they had a contract to do book packaging, which is like when a publisher will kind of farm out to some other company an imprint. So we were doing a imprint called Buddy Books for this children's book publishing company, and so they would give us lists of the books that they wanted us to do. Um, so they might give us 24 titles of animal books they want us to do, or 12 titles of landmarks in the U.S. books they want us to do, or something like that. So, and then we had a team of about 5 people who would design, write, edit, fact check, buy the photos for, and do the whole thing for that company. And I probably worked on 500 books back then for that company. A lot of animal books, a lot of dinosaur books, and some other funny ones like gross stuff books and things like that. So this reminded me a lot of that work
Yep.
because I got to use so many graphics inside.
That does sound fun though. What you were doing back then. Like it sounds very like it had a very good variety. So maybe
Mhm.
it didn't get stale, and you
Right.
could
Oh yeah.
approach things differently with each one. So
Yes. Yeah, we had enough different, series there that it was you could work on different styles all the time. And I actually got to write some of them, so, some of them are still on Amazon. So if you look up my name, there's all of these underwater ocean books for 2nd graders,
right.
because I wrote 24 of those. So there some of them are still on Amazon. It's been several years now, but they're up there. So we have Cooks of Horror and a whole bunch of children's books.
So were those ever put in schools and things? Do you
Oh
know?
yeah, they're in school libraries. They were that's what they were intended for, was
Yeah.
for school libraries for about 2nd graders to read and do like their first nonfiction book reports on, that kind of a thing.
It reminds me of those one books we had in our library. Is it like are they called like DK?
Yes, it's a lot like that.
Yeah.
Yep.
So very, very picturesque, and those were the books that always drew me at school. Those
Hmm.
um, nonfiction type things. So
Mhm. Yep, me too.
that's awesome.
That was a really
Um,
fun job. I really enjoyed that a lot.
that sounds really cool, and it was like, and yeah, as people can see or hear, you are well versed in the craft of creating art. I don't know which way I want to go right now because I may wait just a little bit longer to do that. I was figuring it out as you were talking, but one other thing that, like I said, I'm going to try. Like I have it sitting here handy enough. This
Nice.
is one of the hand thrown mugs that you and your husband do together.
Mhm. Yep, we're
So,
just getting going on making some for this year's Books and Brews.
and anybody that's seen these in person absolutely falls in love with them every single time. And I think this is the first one I got from you, and I have a second one somewhere, and I think it was like at Books and Brews last year, and it was the
I remember
only
that one.
blue mug you had with the white in it.
And
And I
doesn't
was
it
like,
have skulls around the bottom?
I think so. I'll have to
Yeah.
find it. It's probably packed up somewhere. It's still in the box because I'm a terrible hoarder like that with books and things and book related things.
Last year, oh, so the first time we ever made mugs for Books for, um, it was because, Tiffany was gonna have a table at Scholastic.
Yeah, I believe that's where that mug came from.
That'd
Scare.
be, like, 2 summers ago, I guess, right?
That's a lot of it's over a year ago for sure.
Yep, I think it was
I
2
think it was
summers
last
ago.
February.
It was in I wanna say it was in March.
It
Uh,
was either March or February. Yep, and it was in Indianapolis.
yep, and, I had been doing a lot of graphics for Tiffany, and, she, we wanted to meet each other, and she invited me to come and share the table with her at Scholastic Book Fair. And I was like, I don't have anything to sell, and she was like, well, do some prints or something. And I really didn't, I couldn't think of anything I really wanted to do for that either. But I was like, well, we just started doing pottery. I mean, we had really kind of just started doing it.
Yeah,
So, we were very new, beginners at it. But we are like, we'll just try it. We'll just try to make some mugs and, we'll take whatever we get made there. And I think we made, I don't know, like maybe 45 mugs or something.
yep,
And they for the most part, they were the same. They were black with the oval Books of Horror stamp that I had like made. And we sold all of them, and it was a lot of fun. And then Tiffany invited me to do Books and Brews last year, and we went crazy last summer. Spent the entire summer. All I did last summer was make mugs for Books and Brews, and they were nearly all different.
yeah,
So we brought like, I don't know, 130, 140 mugs, and like they were just all different from each other for the most part, which was crazy, but fun. We got to test and try a whole bunch of different things, and it was really fun to see people at the sale try to pick one. But it
yeah.
was
'Cause
also, I think, overwhelming for people
they
to
were
pick
all
from all of those different ones.
they were all
So
so different. And
yes,
I swear, like, did y'all start doing the more like bulbous bottoms
mhm,
to them and things? Like I remember those. I think like it's
yeah.
so hard. Yeah. So
And then we had
like
several that were like sort of a Stein shape, I guess.
yeah, the Steins.
Um,
I do remember the Steins.
and we had a
And they're
cutout stamp made of like a Ouija board planchette. I really like that one. But this summer, we are just getting going on making stuff for Books and Brews too. But we have plans. We kind of have a plan for what we're doing, and we plan to do, about 10 of each design, 10 to 20 of each design. So there won't be an infinite number of different designs for you to choose from, but there'll be some really good range and variety in the ones that we have.
I was reading the comments, but yeah, Holly Landa says her kid loves her mug. She got a spoon holder and it broke, and she cried.
Oh no, we'll have to make some spoon holders. Holly, are
So
you coming to Books and Brews too?
that's one thing I was going to ask you too. Like aside from the mugs, what other things are y'all planning, or will there be surprises?
Well, we have done posters in the past, but they don't really, I don't think people even notice them behind the table because of all the mugs.
Yeah.
Last time there was just so much to look at. So we probably won't do posters this year, but I'll definitely have copies of Cooks of Horror there. And I can sign them, and there'll be a lot of people who are contributors in the book that will be there that can sign them as well. So that'd be a lot of fun to get your copy of Cooks of Horror at Books and Brews. So I'll have those. We definitely will have other ceramic items that are not mugs. So we have some new ideas for things there, and that will be kind of a surprise what you see. But I also last year I had this little ghost that I made, a
Yeah.
ceramic ghost that I didn't sell because it was kind of like our mascot. And then I had a second ghost that I made that I did sell, and so I would really like to recreate that original ghost in maybe make 20 of those. So
That would be
I've been working on it a little bit off and on in the winter, and I just did not like how they're turning out.
yeah.
So this summer I got to tweak that to get it to be a repeatable thing. So,
Right.
and I'm experimenting with a new style of ceramic making myself too, which is slip casting, where you make molds out of plaster, and then you pour liquid clay into them, and then that's your base mold, and then from there you decorate it and change it. So that's something I'm learning right now, and my husband still uses the wheel.
Okay. So yeah, that's what it means when you say hand turned or hand. What is it? Hand thrown.
Yes, thrown.
Thrown. So you're using the wheel to spin it
Right,
out.
right. Yeah, it's because when they begin um at the wheel, they take a ball of clay and they literally throw it onto to the the wheel so that it will stick.
Yeah.
So that's why they call it throwing, I think. And I do hand building, where like I would roll out slabs, flat slabs, and then turn them into three-dimensional objects. So that I did a lot of that last year. This year, I would like to practice the slip casting and do some things with
Yeah.
that, because I think I could do some really cool things with that. Lots of ideas. We'll see how they work.
It is never enough time
Yes.
because you always got people like me bugging you. Yeah.
Well, that's the one thing. I have been largely away from the Facebook group a lot this year because I have gone back to school.
Yeah.
I'm still working full time, but yeah, I am working on a second BA, so that has kept me really busy. So I feel like I need to reconnect with the group because I have been away and not checking it as often as I used to. So yeah, that's been keeping me busy and keeping me from doing ceramics.
So when you are in the shop working on whatever project you have going, do you do audiobooks?
I do some. I really like to do podcasts
Podcasts,
for
yeah.
listening. For the most part, if I'm going to read a book, I will sit down and read it. But I really love podcasts.
I could see if, especially if you're working on something, maybe a book that you kind of have to concentrate on would
Right.
slip by you
Yep, yep,
because
I just get lost.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
do.
realize, "Oh, I don't know what was happening last 5 minutes." Yep.
Yeah, so yeah, and art will do that. Like I'll listen to things when I'm working on a graphic or something, and 30 minutes, an hour later, the podcast is going off and wrapping up the graphic, and I'm like, I don't remember anything they said. So
Mhm.
it's a weird thing. Like you wouldn't think that like when you're creating just image or an image on the screen that it would take so much of your focus and your
Right.
mind's bandwidth, but
It really does.
it really does. And when you're doing it, like the time literally melts away.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, I have some paranormal podcasts that I really love. I
oh,
love Spooked. Have you heard of that one,
I
Spooked?
haven't heard of Spooked.
Oh, it's so good. It's Spooked with Glenn Washington, very
Okay,
professionally done. Love it. Uncanny with Danny Robbins.
no,
And you got to check that one out. It's really awesome. And they actually have a TV show now as well. What's kind of fun about that is they will investigate like a true haunting, and they investigate it for weeks. They don't just investigate it a little bit, and I mean they will go
yeah,
back. They will go back several times and bring new information. So when they came up with the show, when the show is over, then you go to there's a podcast episode after the show, and you find out even more. But his is great. So that is Uncanny. But
okay.
then there's one that I have listened to since 2009. Anything Ghost.
Mm,
And it's like people write in mostly emails to this man, and he reads their emails of their true paranormal experience that they've had, and
yeah,
once in a while they actually will tell it themselves and send him the audio. But yeah, I have listened to that one since 2009.
okay. I can see the disconnect between you and I because when it gets into paranormal, I'm not about it. You have to love it to really, I don't know. Maybe you don't have to love it, but Jess, she would be all about it. Like she watches all the ghost hunter shows and all that and stuff.
Oh yeah.
For me, the podcast that I would more likely tune into would be like true crime.
Oh sure.
So like from way back in the day, and they're still going. Last podcast on the left, and they do true crime, but they're very, it's three people and they're very zany. At least one of the guys is. And then Morbid is I would highly recommend Morbid. That
Hmm.
podcast is great. And then there is a few book podcasts that I listen to, and one of those is Books in the Freezer. It's been a while since I've caught up with them, but I was there basically from the beginning listening to those gals. And then one that I've listened to almost as long as you have listened to that one since like 2009. I think they've been going about that long. Is It's called Sword and Laser.
Oh, I've never heard of that one.
Sword and Laser. So if you like sci-fi or fantasy, that's their bread and butter. They'll talk about other things, but it's been um, these two hosts forever. They were part of Geek and Sundry for a while, but with Felicia Day. But they have been on this podcast forever, and I have took so many recommendations from that podcast and found so many great books that way from, like I said, like 10 years plus, like any of the books that became really popular before they became popular, these people were talking about them. So like The Martian by Andy Weir, because they were talking about it so much, I was like, I got to get on that. And then the Silo trilogy
Oh,
with
yeah.
by Hugh Howey,
Yeah,
and
I
way
was,
before the TV show was ever thought of.
I found that one pretty much right when it came out on, Audible, I remember. So that was years ago,
Yeah, and I
and
did it
listened
on
to
Audible
all
too.
of the Hugh Howey stuff that he had, and it
Yeah,
was a long time before I heard anybody else talking about it.
yep, yep. The Silo trilogy blew me away at the time, and it's dystopian sci-fi and everything I love
Mhm.
in for a sci-fi book. And then just books like that, like I can't even think off the top of my head, but a lot of them are finally getting made into TV shows, but or movies, things like that. So I know recently they've been talking about Dungeon Crawler Carl and getting to meet
Mhm.
that author a few times now. I've met Matt Denman a few times, so um, that is right there on my Audible next in TBR basically. So I, when I don't, it's like it's weird in waves, especially with the audiobooks. I love to do fantasy and sci-fi for whatever reason. I think I can focus on those books more so versus horror, but
Mhm.
I've been on a few horror audiobooks lately that I am severely past due of reviewing in the group.
Mhm. I
But
think my favorite horror audiobook that I ever listened to, um, because of that format was,
yep,
Bird Box.
Bird Box. Yep, I believe I did Bird Box on Audible way long ago when it came out. Like,
Yes, it was, definitely the first Mallerman book that I had ever read
yep,
or listened to, and it nobody knew about it yet. I just, like, ran into it, and I was recommending it to every middle schooler at school and everything.
yeah, and it
Yeah.
was so good on audio, and like that river scene, just the river scene, just lives in my head rent free. Like that's what sticks
Mhm.
with me. That river scene and the guy coming after them. But yeah, like everybody, if you haven't checked out Bird Box on audio, highly recommended for both of us.
Definitely.
As far as audio, oh, I wouldn't even know with horror. I've listened to quite a few, quite a few on horror. Trying to think whether if I get into the long list, whether I read it or listened to it, then it starts getting clouded. But sometimes it's fun to do an audiobook and read a hardcover, like a hard copy. Like that's fun to follow along. Like
Mhm.
uh just trying to like I have just tons of books. But so what are some of your favorite authors into like today? Like what are some of your absolute go-to instant buy authors that are writing right now?
Um, Keelan Patrick Burke, Josh Mallerman, um, Adam Neville.
Adam Neville.
Really like Adam Neville.
I've read two Adam Neville books, and it's funny because there's a rare instance with Adam Neville's The Ritual where I thought the movie was better than the book. But when I read the book, I got so into my head because where I worked at was at a Boy Scout camp. So I was out in the woods all night, every night. And I read that book and I got so into my head about the setting of that book, just creeped myself out. Like, it wasn't the actual book, but it was like reading the book and then like the what ifs start creeping in.
Right.
And then I have read Adam Level's Last Day is a Day, Last Days,
Last
last,
Days, I think. Yep.
and I loved it. Like,
I think it's is it called No One Left Alive? One of them is called something like that. No
No
One
one.
Left Alive. I think that's it. But
It's got the
the
skull on the cover.
villain, what's that?
Has it got a skull on the cover?
I don't
Oh,
remember what's on the cover, but it's
I
about a woman who really is down on her luck, and she ends up having to live in this apartment building that has some pretty scary things going on. But they're the villain in that one. Just it's just a man. It's not something paranormal, but it's just a very scary man, and his name is Knacker, like Knacker, and he is my favorite uh villain to hate. My favorite villain that I've ever read.
interesting.
He is
Interesting.
so awful, and he was just so real, like a very, very well developed character. But my favorite horror book is an old one. It's Maynard's House.
Maynard's house.
It was published in 1979 or 1980 by Herman Raucher,
Okay.
and it's the only horror book he ever did. He did other books, but this was the only horror book he did. And I ran into it because somebody on Books of Horror put a picture of one of the old covers. And it was kind of a silly one. It was kind of one of those, like, it's like a white flat surface with like a head and hands like pushing through,
Yeah.
which you see a lot. But anyway, it being called Maynard's House, about somebody who inherits a house from Maynard. And I thought it was hilarious because my dad's name is Maynard. So I was like, I have got to get this book. So I got it, I read it, and I read it, finished the last page, went to the first page, started right over again
Right.
because I absolutely loved it. But there was some ambiguity in there that it just felt like if you looked deep enough, you would figure out what was still unknown when you got to the end. And so I just had to know, I had to know. I had to understand what I didn't understand having read it the first time. Read it again, still felt like it was just out of reach. And that's actually how I made my first friend in my first Books of Horror friend, because a woman in India had just read that book also, and she also wanted to know what the whole thing was about.
Yeah.
And so we found each other on the Books of Horror site, and we have been buddy reading ever since. So yeah, I've sent some things to her. She's sent some things to me, and it's kind of hard to send things to India from here. By the way, it took 6 months for her to get what I sent her because it got lost in the mail. But she never gave up, and she finally got it. But yeah, so Pranati is a friend of mine now for, I don't know, 2-3 years,
Yeah.
and we've been buddy reading from early on when I joined the group, really. So that's been a lot of fun.
That is awesome. Like just hearing those stories of the connections. It's so awesome. I have shipped, I think, a book to India, a contributor copy for one of the authors from India, and it is a journey that book goes through.
Hmm.
So anything you send to India, yes, like 6 months. Imagine that. Like, what did that package see in that six
Right.
months?
If she had not been persistent, she bugged the postal service there a lot,
Yeah,
frequently, or she never would have gotten it. But she eventually got it. So
that's awesome. Well, we talked about some of your favorite authors. Now you dipping your toe in the author pool yourself. Is there anything you have been working on or planning to do in the nearish future?
I am working on a story. I really do enjoy writing, but I have a really hard time coming up with an idea that actually has legs that's more than a situation. I can think
Yeah,
of lots of situations that I would like to write about, but but they're not really a story. So if I do get one of those ideas, I try to pursue it. Um, and so I am working on a story right now that I am kind of stuck because my characters um, need to do something right now, but they have to do it in a place that is very, very far away from where they are. And this is like a period story. So they can't quickly get to where they need to go. So
Right.
that's what I'm right now. I'm like, do I just cut to they're here and now it's 6 weeks later and they have gotten there, or, or do I take them on the whole journey to get there? And
I
I
see.
have not been able to decide.
I mean, that would be with anything that it really translates to any time period. It doesn't matter. Like, it just falls back to you being the author and what you want to tell that story. So if you want to show their journey there, yes. But if you don't think it's necessary to explain what happened from point A to point B, you can write it that way too. So whichever works best for you and whichever you think serves the story best.
Sure.
That would be my advice to you. And also, going back to what you said, when you concept an idea, it seems like a scene. Well, I think that's the majority of a lot of writers. Like, a whole book might be born out of just them having the concept of a single scene, something that just pops in your head, and you're like, and you think about it. But like, it could be in the center, and you build out from both the before and the after. So don't write little um those little scenes off as this has no legs, or there's no meat on the bone for a story with that. Right, I would suggest to you, if you're not, write them down, like those scenes.
Hmm.
Give as much detail as you think is necessary um, when it comes to you, and then if it is a good story, then it will grow. That's like a little seed of a story, and if it is good enough, then it will grow in your mind, and you'll be like, "Oh, that's what it was doing." So that would be
Hmm.
my advice to you.
I think my story in Push,
Yeah,
Ruth Anna Evans' book, that one just came so easy to me because her topic, it was so inspiring.
yeah,
Childbirth
yeah.
is really an inspiring topic and one that I have experience with. So that story came to me quite easily, like the idea of where it was going to go, and I knew what was going to happen before I wrote it down. And I don't think that's ever happened to me before. So that was really fun.
Yeah.
And I worked really, really hard on that story, and I revised it several times. And I think it's a really solid story. I'm really proud of that story. The
Awesome.
story that is in Season of the Witch, I think it has good atmosphere and I like it, but it doesn't have the direction, that the one that I did for Push has, I think.
Right. So, yep. That I remember the circumstances of that story too. You submitted it for one anthology, and
Right.
I told you hold off because the next anthology coming up would be far more better suited for that story.
Right.
I believe you submitted it for the Dead Heat, which is a summer themed.
Right. Mhm.
It does take place in summer, but you wrote a witch story in summer, and I'm like, you know, this is a
Right.
witch story. It belongs in a witch book.
It definitely was better in the witch book. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I had fun doing that story. I definitely was writing that up until, minutes before the submission date, the time. So, I didn't have time to revise that as much as the latest one that Ruth published. I really love Ruth's book. Do you have a
Yeah,
copy of it yet?
I do not have Push.
It is, and plus it's so cute. It's just like a little dime store paperback size,
Yeah,
um, in the dimensions. But I have read the whole book, and it is phenomenal. I just love it. It's it's got so much heart and so much variety, but but the stories all feel like they belong in the book, you know.
yeah, and it's a good
There's some
like
really wild ones in here.
you said, it's a good subject matter for a book, for an anthology, and I don't think I've seen anybody do it before or since. So
Yep, yeah, Ruth does the medical horror a lot, doesn't she?
she does. I had her on here to talk about it. Who, um, so she dabbles in publishing, authoring, and is a fellow artist
Hmm.
who does many covers for all the fine indie folks. So
Yep,
um,
she loves what she does, doesn't she?
yes, it was fun talking to her. Um, but with I need to get that. I can't remember. And I remember reading a story that was going to be submitted to that book, but I don't know if it was accepted, so I don't want to call it out. But um, I remember reading some of this. Yeah, and this person is well qualified for a birthing book. Let's just say that. So you might know who I'm talking about. But yeah. So it sounds like to me for you to uh, start writing or actually sit down to write, it has to be something that truly calls to you.
Yes.
So you're
Yeah.
not just going to write to write as right now.
Right.
Plus, you have so many irons in the fire as it is.
Exactly.
But if something really calls to you, you're going to throw down on it.
Yes. Yes.
So
And you know, when I wrote that story for you the first time, it was really you know, it was fun to write something, but it was really just that I wanted to participate in the community, you know,
yeah,
um, by just trying something, you know, to be involved in it in some way that I hadn't yet before,
right.
just to, just to, just to join in, I guess, you know,
Yeah, yeah,
which was awesome, you know. All those anthologies that you guys put out under Books of Horror. I
yep.
mean, how many pages do you think there are of those? I mean, thousands of
Pages,
pages.
yes, thousands. Because after the second book, I think the first book is 300 and some odd pages. But after that one, I think every book after that, and even when they're split into two parts, is a 500-page book after
Yep.
it.
That's really, you know, I was thinking if that was all you ever did, RJ, was put out those books and that's all you ever did in publishing, that would be an amazing accomplishment right there. To
Right.
put those out and to have all those different voices represented in them, you know. I think it's incredible.
Yeah. I love the stories of folks like the reason I do it too is to give to showcase books of horror and the talent that's in this community, but also to give people that have been really wanting to write that first stepping stone, and hopefully they continue on to the next, to the next, to the next. That's what
Mhm.
those books were really concepted for, because way back when I started, I think it was 2001 or 2020. I can't remember exactly the year that the first one came out, but um, and you hear it today too. But a lot of folks are always like, if they hear you're a writer, then they're like, I have an idea. You should totally write this story for me. And I'm like, you should write that story yourself.
Right.
So um, it's it seems to have caught on. I did the first two volumes back to back, uh, year after year, and then when the maybe I did the third one the year after that too. But when that monster came to be, because it was the first book to have to be split into two 500-page books, and these aren't the small books either. These are the 6 by 9s, so
Mhm.
big printed books. Like I'm like, I can't do this every single year because that was like it takes 4 to 5 months
Oh, yeah.
from open call to publishing to hitting publish. So if I like you, yeah, like I do it for the love of it, but I also have some stories and other books that I want to also do. So I started doing them every other year. So this will be the fifth volume in that series. But in between, like in the in between years, I have been able to do the Dead Girls and Dead Things.
Mhm.
I do with Angelique Jordana, and she finds the authors, and then I'm like, the only thing that I really do is I do the editing and the um, cover art, and I basically the publisher only. She handles the finding the authors for those books and then getting the submissions in, and then I do the publishing side. But it's been really awesome to showcase the a female only anthology. So
Yep, that's very cool.
I
Yeah,
don't think
it's just another example of, the supportive community that Books of Horror is.
yes. Yeah, like and we try not to do repeats, so it gets a lot more voices out there. But there's been a few, but like we try to get a new crew together every year that we do those. I think we're going to try and do one next year, so it'll be volume three. And with those, always had Christy Aldridge do the covers, so it's a female cover artist doing the covers
Okay.
for those. And just like a few times with you, we'll talk about. I'm interested in this question in a minute with you, but I always give her carte blanche to do whatever she wants. Like I might have some slight feedback tweaks, but whatever she usually knocks it out of the park anyway. So now my question for you with that is when you are approached to like commissioned for art,
Mhm.
do you like a guided hand or do you like to have free reign
Well,
on
it I
free
would say
reign?
it kind of depends on, the person that I'm working with. Depends on how if the person that I'm working with is really open-minded to, whatever I come up with,
Yeah,
then that's great. But if the person is very particular, but they maybe know what they want, but they can't tell me what that is,
yeah,
then it just feels like I'm on a wild goose chase to, make something that I hasn't been described to me. So that can be difficult. Um, I'd say that my favorite is when I'm working with somebody who does have an open mind, but they have a couple of ideas that they give me to go from.
okay,
I think that's the best because then I have some direction. Um, but I know that if it leads me to something that's kind of next to what they are suggesting, that they'll probably be okay with it. So that's, I guess, my favorite way to
okay,
do it. And I really enjoy doing covers, and I hope to do more covers. But I have mostly done for the horror community logos, and I enjoy doing logos, and I feel a lot of pressure though when you do a logo for somebody because it needs to represent them properly. It needs to represent them like authentically, I guess. So it's trying to do that for somebody that I don't really know is difficult.
Yeah.
Um, but it's just such an important thing, I think, for someone, for for their logo to be the right
Yeah.
thing for them,
Yep.
that, I do feel a lot of pressure when I get a logo job to, you know, fulfill that for them. So, they can
I
be, kind of intimidating to get started on,
Yeah,
you
I
know?
can see that because like when you do a logo for someone, that's going to be their forward public image that they're
Yes.
going to be using for themselves.
Yes, that's their
So
brand, their identity, and hopefully they would keep it for quite a while.
yeah,
Whereas, their next book cover could be a totally different style. Whoops, are you still there? Okay.
I am. I am. Well,
Um,
that
yeah,
yeah,
so it can be quite intimidating to get going,
you
you know.
just reminded me of another thing you did for me. So there's so much like we have so much history together.
Yep.
And when I asked you that question about a guided hand versus free range, I think most of the time I do come to you with a very solid idea of what I want. One of the rare exceptions was last year when I asked you to do the Pride logo. I
Mhm.
pretty much gave you free range to do whatever you want, and you came up with the ghost. But then I came back with some feedback about putting the flag as the book cover.
Mhm.
So if somebody is hiring you and they are watching this or want to hire you for a logo or a book design, you need to not be afraid to give that feedback
Oh,
to,
yeah.
to not only Deb, but any artist you're going to be working with. Like if something doesn't quite sit right with you, you should let them know. And 9 times out of 10, they are going to be more than happy to correct it.
Yep. If I can do it, I'm happy to do it.
Yeah.
If it's something I feel like, yeah, oh, I can do that. Yeah, I know how I would approach that and how I can get that done. Then I'm really happy to do, any change that somebody asks for.
This right here was 100% you. I think you took inspiration from the OG original logo, but
Right.
this was all of your own mind and creation, which is perfect.
Mhm.
Um, and then from the ashes, which is a very intricate design, I I think I had a doodle that I sent you of what I
Yeah.
wanted.
Yep, I think you did.
I draw such expert doodles for my designs that I have in my head, stick figures included. Um, but when you did the first one, it wasn't exactly how
Mhm.
I wanted it. And you and I went back and forth maybe a handful of times until it was absolutely perfect to what I wanted.
Yep.
But talking to you, it reminded me of the you said if you create a logo for somebody's brand, you hope that they keep it for a long time. When I first started publishing, I had a logo created and I have used it for now like 7 years, 8 years. I don't know how long I've been doing this, but I came to you maybe last year with an updated. I have kind of switched back and forth with using the two different logos, but I do like the new updated logo you did. My original is when I came to that artist, I was like, I like birds, I like trees, and I like books. And they gave me a bird, a tree, and a book. But
Mhm.
it's cool. If you look at the back of my books, I have that logo on there.
Mhm.
Um, but I came to you last year, and I had found a few images that I liked, but um, I would much rather hire an artist to execute those images than use any other sort of methods that might be out there.
Hmm.
But you did a raven in front of a moon for me, and I absolutely love that. So,
Good.
like, I don't think I think you knocked it out of the park the first time, but I gave you a pretty solid idea for that one too. So,
Yes, for
yeah,
sure.
like generally, so saying all that, like if you're somebody that has a super solid idea of what you want, it is only going to benefit you to tell your artist that idea so that they have a foundation to work off of, as opposed to them having to sit around and think, okay, what can it be? It could be
Right.
this or something like that. But
Which it is quite challenging, if you only do horror images, which I pretty much only do horror graphics now.
yeah,
If and if you have to come up with, a logo with absolutely no direction, I mean, like, how do you not think of the same 5 things all the time when they're all horror, you know what I mean?
yep,
So the pen and the skull and,
yep.
so,
And then
yeah, it's great if somebody can give you some kind of an idea of what kind of images they want included in the logo.
yeah, because only thing it's going to do is help to eliminate frustration later on with them being like, "That's not what I thought." Well, you didn't exactly tell me what you thought. You just told me to create, and this is what I thought.
Right. I have been really, really lucky with everybody that I have worked with since I started, doing things for people that are involved with books of horror. Um, everybody's been great to work with. I've had great experiences with absolutely every person that I've done something for, and I wish I could remember all the people that I've done logos with for
Yeah,
um, since getting involved here. But some of them had never hired anybody to do any images for them before and were really nervous about what the process would be like. And I am an extremely laid back kind of a person. When it comes to this, I'm definitely not doing horror graphics for a living. So it's something I do because I enjoy it and I love being a part of this community. And I don't consider myself an author, so this is my way of participating, in this community. So, I just enjoy doing it. So, if somebody were to hire me to do something, it's just kind of fun,
yeah,
and I will make sure that they like the final product. You know what I mean?
absolutely.
So we will work on it till we get something that they like.
Yep. So, what more could you ask for from somebody willing to give you their time? So, yes.
Right.
So,
I've met
uh,
a lot of neat people, by being asked to create graphics. So that's been neat, and to be able to go to some events once in a while, and meet those people is really cool.
catching up on a few things. Jessica chimed in earlier. I don't know if she's still watching, but she says, I'm late to the party. Just wanted to pop in and say, I love, love, love Deborah Coldiron. Got to go back to ball practice. She's with her granddaughter at softball practice tonight. So,
Right back at you, Jess.
and then Holly had to chime in. I think Holly says this every stream that I do. She says, "Oh, see, saw cat." So usually the cat makes an appearance once. Like he's literally on my lap right now. He was on my shoulder, and but yeah. Um, that last thing you said, going to an event. How surreal is it for you to go to an event and then see your designs around you?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I have done so many things between just what I've done for you and what I've done for Tiffany. I have done so many things that almost every time I open Facebook
Yep.
to the Books of Horror group, there's something that I did there, you know, or there's a picture of somebody that is wearing a shirt that I designed the logo that's on the shirt or something. I love that. That every time I open it up, I'm like, oh, that's one of them, you know. So it's been a lot of fun to see that. And then also to go to Books and Brews last summer and be able to recognize so many people that I
Yeah.
had never met, just by, you know, I just saw their face and I knew who they were, and something about them and what they like and everything. It was really, really fun. Really, really fun. And it was fun when I met people at that very first Scarelastic event. It was just like, wow, everybody is so nice. You know, everybody is so nice. Everybody's so cool. And it was so fun that
Right.
first time to meet people, but then to go last year and know so many of them and have them already know who I was you know, something like I've never experienced before. So
Yeah.
that's really neat. And I know a lot of you guys go to a lot of events and see each other pretty frequently probably.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're kind of a once a year kind of a thing. So we'll be
Where
at
do
this
you? What state do you currently? Are you still in
we're in Iowa.
Minnesota?
We live in
Iowa.
Iowa.
So even further west.
Yeah. And
Um,
you know, my husband, he loves doing the ceramics with me. It's something that we wanted to do before, you know, we ever thought to do any kind of horror related ceramics. We wanted to do ceramics together. And so he loves doing ceramics. He loves selling what we make. But he is not a horror reader,
yeah.
you know. So he's like in for one event a
Yeah.
year.
I have talked to your husband at both events we've been to, and I absolutely know his passion for doing the ceramics. Like
Hmm.
him walking through every step with me. Like I can't remember it all, but yeah, like hearing him get to talk about that and just his passion for it, like yeah, that got me excited. Like just to hear, and to hear that you two bond over that, like do it
Oh yeah,
together. Yeah, so that's
that has
awesome.
been an incredible aspect of that.
Yeah, so tons of fun. If I can do it right, for all the people that have watched so far, get to see the newest collaboration between you and I. If this works right, is it showing up there for you?
I don't see anything yet.
Um, so I am, if it's working right, then I am showing the this year's new Pride logo. Wait, I don't think it's showing. All right, hold on. Sharing my window. Hold. Let me. Here we go. There you go. There you go. I figured it.
There it is.
So for this year's Pride logo, I came to you with the craziest idea. I was like, I see it as a tree of life, but with the rainbow colors as the roots and in the leaves. And then you hit me with that basic image of what you can see now without the pink and blue in the back. It was white. And then I was like, you could add the trans flag in the back. And I think we both agreed that that turned out really awesome.
Hmm.
So
Fun.
that's not going to be unveiled until next month, which would be Sunday when I change
Mhm.
over the ban. You even did a banner for me, which I typically do the banners, and then you're just an overachiever like that. So um, I'm going to upload the banner and use this for our Pride logo for 2025. And then there will be shirts. And I have yours ordered
Oh,
because you did not want to charge anything for this. This is the Deborah that we have to fight with, like doing the free artwork. But yeah, I was like, "Do you want a shirt?" You're like, "Sure." But I love this new logo that we collaborated on.
I'm glad that you like it.
Absolutely. And judging from the comments we are getting, everybody does too. Winona, I will see what I can do for you there.
I'm
So
excited to open up my laptop in a couple of days and have that be the first thing that I see.
yeah, it'll be really. I resized it and everything. I think you probably had it resized or sized correctly, but I resized it to the template I had. Um, but it will be up bright and early Sunday morning. Books of Horror. You all got the sneak peek. So that's the benefit of sticking around,
That's
watching the
right.
lives, learning about very cool folks. Um, one last time, Cooks of Horror. If you want to hold that up for everyone to see, Cooks of Horror. If you have not grabbed a copy of Cooks of Horror, you can find it on Amazon. Or do you do signed copies from your own personal stash?
I would be happy to.
Okay. And then if you're at Books and Brews this August 2nd, Deborah will have copies for sale, and you could get it signed by uh, multiple contributors that will be there. Beautiful
There's
book.
RJ and Jess right there.
Oh yeah, I wrote the foreword. I will sign it. We'll sign it for anybody that wants my chicken scratch on there. Uh, aside from that, the ceramics you will have in stock at Books and Brews for anybody interested in a mug. This is just an example because you have since played around with design,
All new designs
all
you'll
new
see this year.
design. So Deborah Coldiron for the cool kids, Deb. Tell the folks where they can find you online if you have anything you want to plug now. You
Um,
have it.
okay. So you can just find me on Facebook if you're interested in doing some graphics together. Just direct message me on Facebook. And I can't wait to see everybody at Books and Brews too, and meet everybody again and meet people I haven't met before, and see what you guys think of the new designs that we're going to bring. And I hope that people will pick up Cooks of Horror, because it is so much more than just a cookbook. And uh, there's lots of good stories in there too that you've got to check out.
Yeah,
So,
not only is it a cookbook, but you also had probably the majority of the contributors do a very short horror story to
yep,
accompany it.
yep, yep. There's, I think, about 2 dozen short stories in here, besides the 60 some recipes that are in there, and lots of beautiful photography as well.
Yep. So
Full color, absolutely full color book. Every page is full color.
designed front to back by Deb Coda. All right.
Maybe next summer we'll do another one,
I think
a volume
we're gonna have to. I think we're
2.
gonna have to. Just put another one of those irons in the fire for you.
I have one more year of college to
So
go to here. So,
are you do you want to tell folks what you're going to college for? Because I don't know, but
oh,
I don't.
sure. Well, I have worked at a school since we moved back to Iowa. I have worked at a middle school as a paraeducator, and I have done that for far too long without moving up and doing more. And um, the University of Iowa, or the University of Northern Iowa, has finally created a program where paraeducators can become licensed teachers. special ed teachers without leaving their paraeducator job. So you don't have to leave work in order to go back to school. So it's been entirely online and work on the job. So yeah, so I'm going to school to be a special ed teacher. So I've been working with special ed kids for about 12, 13 years.
Yep. So that's awesome. Like, and I mean, you wouldn't be trying to further yourself in that career if you didn't love it. So,
Right, right. My first degree is actually strange. My first bachelor degree is in jazz studies.
jazz studies.
Yep,
Did you play an instrument?
I sang.
Sang. So you
Yep,
was a jazz singer or
I was
just a
a
singer in
vocal
general?
jazz performance major. Yep, and my degree was in jazz studies. Not the most practical degree a person could get.
That I mean, if you're passionate, like uh, MFAs are your dream, but practicality in real world MFAs are very tough to live with.
I
So
had a lot of fun getting that degree, though.
yes,
Yep,
yes,
I went to the University of North Texas in Denton, Texas, and it was a really good time, and I really enjoyed it. And I met my husband down there, so it was worth something.
yeah, um, yeah, and we can play a joke on him if anybody's watching this and going to Books and Brews in August. Uh, tell them to go up to him at the table and ask for something silly. Where's your ceramic oranges at? I heard there were going to be ceramic oranges here. Ask for the ceramic orange. Um, well, you done let the cat out of the bag. You are a classically trained singer, a cappella. Go.
Oh no, I won't do that.
I had to try. I had to try.
Good try.
Um, Holly Landis did ask, "Do you still have confetti glaze?"
Confetti glaze. So that must be the spoon rest, because I think we only did 2 spoon rests, and that was the only things we did with confetti glaze. I still have confetti glaze. So yes, I could make Holly a replacement spoon holder with confetti glaze. Holly, I will do that.
And Holly, if you want to put in an order for something special, you know where to reach Deb.
But I'll just plan on bringing it to Books and Brews
Yeah.
in August. So I'll
Yeah.
see you there, Holly.
All right. So if there's that would be amazing. Thank you. She says that would be amazing. Thank you. If there's nothing else, folks, or nothing else you want to talk about, Deb,
The
just
only other thing I will say is that one of my favorite things of this entire experience of being involved in Books for is getting to know Tiffany Coplin, and wow, she has done so much to promote and help this group, and she is amazing, and I am so excited to see what she's come up with for this event because it sounds incredible.
right. We will find out in August. So everybody should get to Noblesville in August
Hmm.
to check out Books and Brews 2.0.
And if you were listening to this and you come in August, please come and introduce yourself and say hi to me at our table.
Absolutely. All right, folks. Thank you all for watching. Deb, thank you for being on here and letting me um, just pick your brain on a lot of different things.
Thank you for asking me.
Absolutely. It was not really spoken about, but if you look back on the people we had lives on this month, it was Creator Month. So you didn't necessarily have to be a author. So we tried to mix in more artists or more people that do creative things in the indie horror field. So that's what
That's
this month
awesome.
was dedicated for. So
Very cool.
Um,
Yeah, there's lots of us that want to be involved, even though we maybe don't write. So
yeah, you
but I
do
do hope
though.
I finish that story that I'm working on right now. If I get it
Absolutely.
done, I will. I'm thinking about doing a chapbook and bringing it in August. We'll
Yep,
see.
that's my current work in progress as well as a chapbook for August. So. All right. Again, thank you all for hanging in there with us, and we will see you on the next one.
Great talking to you.
You too.
Bye bye.